Hello everybody, I'm some Loudmouth on the internet with an opinion, and welcome back to part 7 of my reviews of Gargoyles the Goliath Chronicles. And in this episode we will be entering the world of mad science. Here you thought that science was just here to give us things like antibiotics, vaccines that cured polio, automobiles, and online infrastructure that dramatically makes all our lives easier. But apparently there is a dark side to man's continuing scientific advancement. And that is giant gargoyle monsters that are grown from test tubes. This is Gargoyles the Goliath Chronicles, Episode 8, Attack of the Clones. I'm sorry. Genesis Undone. We open this episode with Hudson frustrated by not being able to get his satellite television working, which the episode thinks is a clever foreshadowing of future events.
I thought Lexington had said this satellite dish would work in any weather.
It seems even the wonders of human science have their limits.
Spoilers, it's not. But in the rainstorm, one of the gargoyle clones lands. Talon, the mutate, is there to tell them that a disease is affecting all the gargoyle clones.
They asked me to bring all of you to the labyrinth. Their lives depend on it.
Hey, I'm at least glad you guys showed up, given that the last 8 episodes of the Goliath Chronicles forgot you guys existed. So the rest of the gargoyles follow Hollywood to the labyrinth, where they see that all the clones are sick, and are told that the clone's creator, Dr. Savarius, needs tissue from the gargoyles to cure the clones. The gargoyles are understandably not eager to do this, and give good reasons not to.
Letting Savarius get his hooks in us again is asking for trouble.
Aye. The man has no conscience. There's no telling what he'll try.
The clones have to trust him. They've got no choice. But we do.
So you know that this guy is a dangerous psychopath, but you are considering giving this guy total control over you anyway. Look, I understand wanting to help the clones, but empathy should not come at the expense of sanity. But yes, they do decide to get Savarius' help, and we meet back up with Anton Savarius, who, once again, is voiced by the always great Tim Curry.
Would you care to try that again?
The poor creatures. I can almost feel their pain. We must begin treatment immediately. Slime beneath me, slime up above.
Nothing better. Savarius informs Goliath that the clones don't have one.
What is causing this?
A defect in the DNA replication chain. Despite the great strides my research has made, cloning remains an imperfect science.
A defect in the cloning process harming these clones makes a lot of sense. Cloning is a very new technology, and this is set in the 90s. But why would a defect in the cloning process affect all of the clones at once? Even ones that were clearly created independently, through different processes. Delilah, for example, isn't really a clone. She was spliced together with DNA with Demona and Elisa, which makes her kind of a genetic mutant, but not a clone. Semantics. But there really is no good explanation for why they should accept that this is the reason this is happening. So Savarius tells them that in order to save the clones, Goliath must agree to allow Savarius to extract tissue from all the gargoyles.
You and your clan will have to agree to put yourselves totally in my hands.
First of all, how in the hell would just more tissue extracted from them really cure the clones? How would tissue from the host organism really change a defect in the cloning process? That's not how DNA works. And an even bigger plot hole is the fact that Goliath's clone isn't even there yet, and Angela doesn't have a clone. So why are they all being experimented on at once? Wouldn't it make a lot more sense, given that they know Savarius is an unethical bastard, for possibly Goliath and Angela to stand guard to make sure he doesn't try anything sinister? So Savarius claims he invented a cure, but who should show up except Goliath's clone Thalog, who is also dying of the same illness. Thalog was a frequent antagonist of the second season, a clone of Goliath created by Anton Savarius, gifted with his father's strength and cunning, but unlike the benevolent and heroic Goliath, Thalog is cruel, malicious, and often sadistic. Fun fact, in the real Season 3, aka Greg Weisman's short-lived comic book series, Thaylog actually ends up a member of the Illuminati Society. That would have been awesome. Let's see what this does instead. Thaylog outsmarts the rest of the gargoyles and steals the serum.
Don't hurt me!
The clones decide to follow Thaylog to get the serum back, and the rest of the gargoyles awaken and give chase as well. We cut to Thaylog, who apparently we find out was working with the Doctor the whole time, but is double-crossed.
What a twist!
At least I held up my end of our deal. You got your serum with enough life-replenishing gargoyle DNA to cure you. Now be a good Thaylog and transfer the fee we discussed to my Swiss account.
Not just yet, Doctor. Not until I know it works. Something's wrong. Why don't I feel any different?
Elementary, my dear Thaylog. This is the real serum. The hypo I gave you was advanced stage clone virus.
Wait, clone virus? You said earlier it was a defect in the cloning process. Maybe Savarius was lying to Goliath earlier, but where did this clone virus come from exactly? Did Savarius engineer it for some twisted purpose? Maybe to just get rid of Thaylog? It's never really made clear in this episode. Sadly, as the rest of the gargoyles catch up to the clones, we find that it's already too late, as we see that the rest of the clones succumb as they all turn to stone and petrify permanently from the virus. While I somewhat appreciate that this episode was willing to go for a very dark ending, I can't help feel that it was a missed opportunity because these clones have never really been developed as characters. They were introduced at the very end of Season 2, and all the previous episodes of the Goliath Chronicles have forgotten they existed. And even most of this episode doesn't really develop them as characters. So we're not really given too much emotional attachment to these clones, so their deaths don't have as much impact as they should. But sadly, what should have been a very solemn scene is instead going to become really, really silly. We find that Savarius has apparently not been using the tissue to cure the clones, but instead to create his own giant gargoyle that he grew in a few hours, cloned from all the gargoyles.
Say something, my boy. Don't be shy.
Father.
First of all, clones have taken several months to grow in the Gargoyles universe before. How the hell does Savarius now suddenly know to create a giant one in only a few hours? Not to mention, how the hell would more tissue really make it giant? That's not how DNA works. DNA is just a set of biological instructions that tell an organism to grow and develop in a certain way. Adding more DNA doesn't make you bigger, whatever. The rest of the gargoyles get back with the petrified clones, and Savarius makes the dumbass decision to needlessly provoke them by being a total asshole.
There may be a way to revive them one day, but why make the effort? They were defective. You ask me, they're a lot better off passing for bad sculpture.
Show some respect, sir.
Savarius was always a scumbag in earlier seasons, but he was never a complete idiot like he is here. Goliath, of course, has enough with Savarius' bullshit, and Savarius sets loose his new monster on them until...
That's Goliath, the big bad gargoyle I told you about.
He won't bother you again, Father.
Little Anton was cloned from all of you.
Thaylog comes back to get his revenge on Savarius for double-crossing him.
Never thought I'd live to see the night.
But I saw you take the virus.
But fails because, for no reason, he decides to just stand there long enough for little Anton to rescue him.
You saw what I wanted you to see, Doctor. My injection performance was as convincing as your concern for your creations. It was the only way to find out if you intended to betray me. And now that we both know the answer, it's payback time.
No, 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 no! Help me, Anton!
Why is it so hard for villains to just shoot somebody and move on? Then, in one of the worst continuity flubs I have ever seen in any animated program, check this shot out. As little Anton picks up a normal-sized gun, and it magically grows to 10 times its original size between shots so little Anton can wield it.
Great continuity!
So Thalog, like the other clones, permanently petrifies. Then Goliath is forced to use the virus to permanently petrify little Anton.
Father, what's happening to me?
Everything's going to be all right, I promise. You're just taking a nap. A very long nap.
He almost makes me feel sorry for him.
After this sad ending, the Gargoyles decide to just leave Savarius alone. You're not going to try to take him into custody or maybe just kill him or anything. You're just going to leave him around so he could possibly create more monsters for you to fight later? Okay. So the episode ends with the petrified bodies of the clones being placed on top of a rooftop, and they all turn to stone together with some semblance of hope for the future.
We were stone 1,000 years between breaths. Perhaps these troubled creatures have not seen their final sunrise.
This episode was just really weird, and honestly, I'm just completely baffled by it. The idea of a defect in the cloning process affecting the clone characters was not a bad one, but this episode was just all over the place. Not only is the quote-unquote science in this episode absolutely ridiculous, but so are the characters' motivations, from Goliath and his clan being horrifically naive, to Savarius' sudden and baffling decision to grow a giant gargoyle monster out of the blue. This episode is just all kinds of strange. Wiseman planned to develop the clones into their own characters in the third season, so why'd the new writers decide to bring them back only to just kill them off like that? Honestly, I have no idea. Thankfully, the next episode doesn't kill off any old established characters. Worse, it just completely ruins one of the best ones. Join me next time. I'm some Loudmouth on the internet, and you just heard my opinion. Special thanks to the Dark Conservatarian, Connor Johnson, and my other awesome patrons. And be sure to subscribe for more Loudmouth reviews, commentaries, and editorials.